Hold up. The Fed is doomed, and I'm about to tell you exactly why. You think the economy is in good hands with the Fed running the show? Yeah, think again, okay? So while they scramble to fix the mess they created, $50 billion a month is pouring into the US from tariffs. And guess what? Nobody's even thinking about retaliating. So here's the truth that the mainstream media won't tell you. The Fed's biggest move, a desperate rate cut coming in September, a 94.9% chance that they're slashing interest rates to try and save face. But you and I both know it's too little too late. Inflation is out of control. The cost of living is rising faster than you can blink. And the Fed's only fix is to cut interest rates like a bomb. And guess what happens when they drop rates? Inflation goes through the roof. So while the Fed's playing these tired games, President Trump is sitting on a $50 billion per month gold mine. Tariffs. That's right, guys. Tariffs are flooding the United States economy like a freight train. They're putting real money in the hands of the American people. And the Fed, they can't even keep up. So here's the big question. Can the Fed even survive this? I mean, can they make their rate cut mean anything when Trump's tariffs are reshaping the global economic balance and also at the same time fueling America's rise? Or is the Fed just digging the hole even deeper? So the question really isn't, it's not just about whether the Fed can fix things. It's about whether they're even the ones in charge anymore. Tariffs are clearly the new power play. The Fed, I think those guys are yesterday's game. What do you think? So you're not going to believe what's coming next, guys. Stick around because I want to break this down for you. And by the end of today's video, you're going to know exactly why America's economic future does not belong to the Fed anymore. So let's dive into the Fed's crisis, shall we? Okay, the Federal Reserve, the supposed gatekeeper of America's economy, yeah, they just got backed into a corner. The numbers don't lie. 94.9% chance of a rate cut in September. Let that sink in. The Fed's last-ditch effort to save the economy is a rate cut. But here's the problem. It's a desperate attempt, not a strategic solution. You see, guys, the Fed's whole job has been to control inflation, keep interest rates in check, and manage the economy in a way that avoids sudden shocks. But what we're seeing right now, this is a complete failure of that model. I mean, they missed the boat on inflation, and now they're left with the only tool that they have left, cutting rates. But what's going to happen when they cut the rates to stimulate the economy? Well, if you know anything about economics, you already know this. It could make inflation even worse. I mean, you've already heard the argument that a lower interest rate is supposed to encourage investment and stimulate the economy. But what happens when the cost of living just keeps going up and the Fed can't even control it? Well, can you imagine the impact of think about this. Imagine the impact on the average American when interest rates are slashed, but the cost of everything from gas to groceries continues to skyrocket. That's the Fed's plan to fight inflation with more inflation. The truth is, the Fed is reactive. They're not proactive. They've always been playing catch up, and right now they are failing miserably. So if the Fed's only answer is to slash rates again, they're gambling with America's future, and that particular gamble, this could backfire hard. Now, you've probably seen the comments, people saying Chapter changed their life, saying that they finally felt heard, finally got help. I love it. Well, Sharon Bertusik, she lost Medicaid and she thought she was out of luck, but Chapter found her a new plan with zero premiums, zero medication costs, and slashed her copays. Then there's Leslie Taylor. She's saving $1,000 a year now. That's just wild. It's wild, but it's true. And this is exactly why I decided to partner with Chapter. They're the group of people who people turn to when they're feeling stuck, when they're feeling ignored. And I love that. They are the go-to. They answer the phone. They're going to go to fight for you just as if you were their own family. In fact, the company was founded for the very reason their own parents were screwed over by some horrible Medicare advice. And that's how the company was founded. So don't waste another moment. Look at the number down below, dial that number right now, and see how much money you could save. See how much more benefits you could possibly qualify and save money. And let them know Ron says hello. Phone number is down below, 909-563-8279, or visit them on the web at askchapter.org/Ron. Join the thousands of people who are already saying, why didn't I do this sooner? I know. Yeah, seriously. So now, while the Fed is busy throwing darts at the dark, President Trump, he's unleashed an economic force that the Fed just cannot control. $50 billion in tariff revenue is flooding into the United States economy every single month. Guys, it's real money pouring into American businesses, pouring into manufacturers and workers at a scale that the Fed can only dream of. And so, guys, $50 billion a month, let let that number settle in for a second. This is not hypothetical. It is happening right now. Thanks to Trump's strategic tariffs. In fact, the U.S. is flooding with cash that isn't coming from taxpayer dollars like me and you. It's coming from countries that have no choice but to pay up if they want to sell to the American consumer. So that's amazing. Like, this isn't just about a few new tariffs here and there. We're talking about $50 billion a month. That's nothing to sneeze at. No other country in the world can match that power because no other country has access to the U.S. consumer base. And despite the fear that China or other nations would retaliate, guess what? They haven't. Why? Because they need us more than we need them. They know the American consumer is just too powerful. So here's where things get real juicy, okay? So while the Fed is stuck dealing with this theoretical inflation, tariffs, they're making a real impact. I mean, we're talking about real, tangible money coming into the U.S. economy, and it's strengthening the U.S. dollar, increasing jobs, and empowering American workers. Meanwhile, the Fed's rate cuts, they're just a band-aid over a gaping wound. What's more is that other nations understand that they must sell to the American market to survive. I mean, they can't afford to retaliate with tariffs. That's not even an option for them. They got to play by Trump's rules, or they're going to lose access to the biggest market on earth. So what's the end result? $50 billion with a B every month flooding into the United States, strengthening the economy, and putting more money into the pockets of hardworking Americans. So now, while the Fed's stuck in its old ways, cutting rates, hoping for a miracle, Trump's tariffs are doing the heavy lifting. But here's the big question. Can the Fed even keep up with this? I mean, seriously, like, can the Fed match the economic juggernaut that is $50 billion in tariffs pouring into the U.S. every single month? Well, stick around, guys, because I'm just getting started. Now, I want to really get down to the real mastermind behind all of this, okay? President Trump didn't just slap tariffs on countries for fun with no strategy. No, this was part of a strategic master plan to take back America's economic power. Every move he makes is designed to make America self-sufficient again, to create jobs and to protect American industries. Trump's tariffs aren't just taxes. They're a tool for global dominance. So what's really amazing here, though, is how smart this is. So while the Fed's been sitting on its hands doing God knows what and reacting to inflation and, just trying to figure out what to do, Trump's tariffs have been quietly reshaping the global economic landscape. No more begging, dependent on, other nations for our resources. No more giving away our advantage. Trump's tariffs, they're a way of saying, look, you want to sell to us? Oh, you're going to pay for that privilege. So this is just about trade. It's about power, real power. America first, not just in military terms, but in economic terms. Trump is saying, hey, we're taking back what's ours. The Fed, they're trying to fix an economy that's already broken. Yeah, Trump is making moves that are putting America back on top. The Fed's policies, they're stuck in the past. So now, we all know what's on the Fed's mind. Clearly, they're scared. They fear retaliation. They fear inflation. They know if they cut rates too much, it will trigger a new wave of inflation, making everything far more expensive for you and me. The Fed is scared to make a move. And guess what? They've been reacting for so long that now we're in the worst possible position. The Fed's fear of inflation has them cornered. But here's the kicker. Trump's tariffs, they don't suffer from this problem. They're completely separate. They're directly controlling global prices without causing the kind of runaway inflation that the Fed is worried about. Instead of printing more money, Trump's tariffs are bringing in cold hard cash, $50 billion a month. This is actual money, not some theoretical hopes and dreams like the Fed's rate cuts. The Fed's moves only manage to slow things down temporarily. Meanwhile, Trump's tariffs are building an economic foundation that is sustainable and powerful. So here's the big reason. How can the Fed compete when the solution's already right in front of us? I mean, Trump's tariffs are curbing China's power, strengthening U.S. industries, and they're empowering American workers, all while the Fed is stuck in this endless loop of inflation, rate cuts, and then some wait-and-see policies. We've all seen this same pattern. Can the Fed even keep up? So let's break this down. The Fed is struggling to control inflation, while Trump's tariffs are putting money into the economy, creating jobs, and strengthening America's position in the world. Can the Fed even keep up with a force like that? Or is it time for a new way forward, one that puts America first? So here's where it gets really interesting. The U.S. economy is growing stronger by the month, thanks to $50 billion in tariffs flooding into the system, of course, right? Meanwhile, you got the Fed's policies, they're getting weaker by the day. They're out here trying to cut rates, but it's like trying to patch a sinking ship with some duct tape. Think about it. Tariffs bring in $50 billion a month. This is not a guess. It's a fact. The revenue from tariffs is real, and it's having a direct, immediate impact on America's economic strength. Meanwhile, the Fed is still playing around with interest rates, trying to figure out like what they can do to stop inflation that's already out of control. Can they even compete? I mean, tariffs are not some temporary fix. They're filling the gaps that the Fed can't touch. The money coming in from the tariffs is boosting American manufacturing, putting real dollars into the pockets of American workers, and it's positioning the U.S. as the global leader that it's supposed to be. The Fed, they're stuck in a loop that's trying to manage things while Trump's tariffs are creating real economic power. So let's get real here, guys. Can the Fed's theoretical policies ever compete with the actual money pouring into America from tariffs? I mean, Trump's tariffs, they're more than just a tactic. They're rewriting the rules of global trade. So while the Fed is desperately scrambling, Trump is setting up a new foundation for long-term prosperity. The growing gap between $50 billion in tariffs and the Fed's failed policy is clear, and the Fed is losing. So let's talk about the fallout from these rate cuts. The Fed's plan to slash rates, it might sound good on paper, but let's be honest, guys, it's a gamble. I mean, you can't just keep slashing rates to fix everything. We've seen this movie before, and it doesn't end well. The problem is cutting rates too much could cause runaway inflation, which this is going to crush American families even harder. The Fed's reactionary policies, they're only making things worse. Higher prices at the grocery store, rising costs on basic necessities, and weaker purchasing power for the American people. But Trump's tariffs, they're a counterbalance. Tariffs put money into the economy without driving inflation. The real money coming from tariffs is exactly what's protecting the American worker while the Fed's actions are doing more damage. So the reality is, when the Fed cuts rates, they risk inflating everything we buy. It's a very dangerous game. And the people paying the price are the American workers, the ones who cannot afford more rising costs. Trump's tariffs, on the other hand, they're injecting cash into the system and providing some much needed stability. So while the Fed is trying to manage inflation by playing the rate cut game, Trump's tariffs, they're giving us a safety net. This is the truth that the Fed and the mainstream media don't want to tell you. They're just too busy pretending that their policies can fix what's broken. Meanwhile, tariffs, they're already doing the heavy lifting, and America is coming out on top. So while the Fed scrambles to control inflation, Trump's tariffs, they're already winning the battle. The question is, though, when will the Fed admit that they've lost? I think the answer is simple. Tariffs are here to stay, and the Fed is just going to have to catch up. So here's where it gets really exciting, okay? America's strength is being completely redefined. I mean, we're not just talking about military power or some soft diplomacy. All about global trade, and thanks to President Trump's tariffs, the U.S. is regaining control of the global economic playing field. Now, for far too long, America has been at the mercy of other foreign nations, but Trump's tariffs have changed the game. The U.S. consumer, we've always been the most powerful tool in the world, but now other countries are being forced to play by our rules. We're done begging for deals. We're not trying to do that anymore. We're setting the terms. Tariffs have reasserted our dominance, making it very clear. Look, if you want to sell to us, you got to pay up. Simple as that. It's not just about getting money into the economy. It's about shaping the future. America is no longer stuck in bad trade deals that hurt American workers and industries. Trump's tariffs, they're essentially forcing other countries to adhere to the rules that benefit the American worker and the American economy. The Fed's policies, well, they're just sitting on the sidelines, watching this massive shift happen. America is taking its power back, not through war, not through military might, but through economic dominance. President Trump has put the world on notice. Look, we control the global economic future, and if you want access to our markets, you better respect our interests. So let's be real, guys. The Fed is losing the American people's trust. For years, they've been telling us what's best for the economy, and for years, they've been wrong. The economy is in tatters. Inflation is out of control, and the Fed's only answer, more rate cuts, more manipulation of the system. Well, people are starting to wake up now, and they see the writing on the wall. The Fed's policies are outdated, and they're failing. So when was the last time the Fed actually did something that worked, right? I mean, they've had their shot and they blew it. Trump, on the other hand, he's building America's future with real policies that create real economic growth. So we got to ask, can the Fed even regain its credibility? Like with the Fed's track record at an all-time low? I think it's pretty clear that America's true economic power lies with President Trump's tariffs. Right or wrong, right? tariffs are what's fueling the growth. Real revenue, real job creation, and putting money into the economy without the side effects of the Fed rate cuts. The people are fed up. They're looking at the Fed's failures and they're turning into Trump's successes. That's what they're doing. So as tariffs bring in billions, the Fed's policies are irrelevant. Why? Because tariffs are the real economic force that's reshaping the global economy. The Fed's outdated methods, they just can't keep up. So, is the Fed even capable of competing with the economic juggernaut that is Trump's tariff strategy? It's clear. The American people are starting to realize that the Fed's policies are just paper fixes. They're paper fixes to an economy that's already moving forward thanks to the tariffs. So now, let's talk about the long-term success here. $50 billion a month, this is all coming into the U.S. economy. But this is not just a flash in the pan. It's a sustained long-term solution to America's economic problems. The real power of Trump's tariffs, it's not just about the money flooding in today. It's about shaping the future of the U.S. economy for generations to come. For years, we've been dependent on foreign nations and global supply chains that put America at a disadvantage. But Trump's tariffs are flipping that script. They're putting American workers and industries first. And what's happening now, it's just the beginning. So with tariffs bringing in steady cash flow, the U.S. is rebuilding its own industries. It's creating new jobs and ensuring economic self-sufficiency. Meanwhile, the Fed's rate cuts, they're just a short-term fix to a much bigger problem. They're trying to solve a long-term issue with short-term measures, and it's just never going to work, and it never has worked. The real solution is not rate cuts. The real solution is tariffs, which provide long-term revenue and allow America to stand tall in a world that's constantly shifting its power dynamics. So Trump's tariffs, they're clearly a game changer. And it's given America a way forward that the Fed just cannot match. So while they gamble and scramble to try to adjust interest rates, Trump's already setting up the infrastructure for lasting economic growth. So what's the Fed really even doing right now, right? Like, can they even catch up to this new economic order? Well, we cannot talk about the success of Trump's tariffs without talking about America's true economic power, the American consumer. I mean, there is no denying it, guys. The U.S. consumer is the most powerful force on the planet. Countries from all around the world, they're essentially scrambling to try to sell to us. And they know that they have to meet America's standards if they want to stay in the game. So Trump's tariffs, they're empowering the U.S. consumer by making sure that foreign companies are paying their fair share. So no more selling to us these inferior goods or using the American market as a dumping ground for their products. They have to pay up. If they want to stay in business, this is what they're going to have to do. This is what the Fed doesn't quite understand. They're still trying to manage the economy like it's the 1980s. Trump's tariffs are putting power back in the hands of the American people. The U.S. consumer is king, and tariffs are making sure that they stay on top. So tariffs are clearly the ultimate tool that turns the tables in favor of American workers and American businesses. The Fed, they're still playing the old game, trying to manage inflation with rate cuts, while Trump's tariffs are creating a new world order, one where America doesn't just survive, but it thrives. So here's the ultimate question. Can the Fed ever compete with the power of tariffs? I mean, like, can their short-term interest rates cut the deep-rooted issues in America's economy? Or has Trump's strategic use of tariffs already rewritten the rules of global trade and economic dominance? Now, America's future doesn't lie with the Fed's outdated policies. It lies with President Trump's tariffs, which are putting America back on top and empowering the American people to take control of their economic destiny. So the Fed, they're doomed. Trump's tariffs, they are the future. If you appreciate the news updates, hit the like button and subscribe. And YouTube believes that you're absolutely going to love the next video that just popped up on your screen. Click that video, watch it right now, and I'll join you on the other side.